Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for round 3 here in the ARC Supercars Championship. This week it is the Dubai Autodrome for the, basically second week of Supercars racing action. Qualifying has, for all intents and purposes, just gotten underway, as we're on board with the first car who began their flying lap. The 11 of Tim Galvin, as he heads his way into T1. It's just coming up on somebody who's just left the pits. They're only on their own lap, so they get out of the way. Obviously, that's how this works. Carter Ritchie has invalidated his lap time about 8 times over, according to the game's race feed. So that sounds great. Doesn't quite clip that apex at the carousel. It's gonna slightly hamper his corner exit speed. Incredibly out of shape through the hairpin. And of course, these cars are pretty much always going to want to drive something like that, so it takes a relatively delicate throttle foot to keep these cars obedient, as it were. Excuse me. As Galvin heads up to the last turn, let's see what the first lap of this session turns out to be, as he almost clips too much curb and we didn't have a lap at all. The lap time will be a 53 flat. I was hearing talk of mid-52s during the practice sessions earlier, so right along with Luke Allen. He's about to make his first lap complete, I think. Actually, no, this might be the, I think Luke was the car that had to get out of Tim's way. We're a little bit better than mid-52s, actually, as, Dylan Baum ends up with a 52.3. I think that was an actual lap. 55.8 from Luke. This season started last week. Hazard. What am I? Tyler. I'm talking like I don't know who you are. Let's see. Times are coming in. We got AJ taking third, 54.71. Fidel Fabian, 56.6. Logan Cool, who I don't believe his internet was able to, was like permitting him to race last week, as he is playing a Gran Turismo 4 coffee break and attacking every cone off to the side that's supposed to block off layouts. I'm just gonna ride on board with somebody else. Let's ride on board with Jan Torres. It looks like he's about to start his lap. Last week's main event race winner. So it seems only fitting he's the one to take us around the Dubai Autodrome. Probably one of my favorite tracks in this game, if not my very favorite to race on. As head up to the start-finish line. Plenty of track clear ahead for the 12 car. Brake for turn 1. Of course the braking boards out there are gone, but normally you'd brake at the first board. Angle as much as you can to get a good run through turn 2, and then it's a sweeper-ish corner. It doesn't look that fast, but it looks faster than it really is. And then we have what I like to call the roundabout. It's basically a slow-speed, tightening carousel that seems like a cross between turns 10 and 11 at Bahrain. Then we have another carousel. This one's slightly banked. One of the most important corners on the track. that apex as best as you can get the car to turn down for it. Onto the incredibly long back straightaway. Maybe seeing cars reach 170 here. Certainly going to be seeing it in the race with slipstream in play. These cars cannot brake at the first board, and actually have to brake a little bit beforehand, as we've just learned. Wide arc into this left-hander. Deceptively early braking zone for this one, especially when the brake markers have also been taken out. Fantastic work by our grounds crew to make sure that absolutely nobody knows where they're going. This kink can be a little bit sketchy in these cars. They don't have the most mechanical grip. All these braking boards are gone as well for the last of the carousel corners on this circuit. And we just have two medium speed right-handers. This one is almost flat. And this one you brake in between the first and second boards, which I'm surprised those boards are standing, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Jason Jester ran a 52.3 in the background. And this is a 53.8 for Jan Torres. There is a very obvious skill gap. But the top two are within about... they're only half of a tenth apart. And then it's 7/10 back to third place Tim Galvin. And it's a second and a half back to his teammate, Jan Torres. And then it's another nearly second from Torres to AJ in fifth. And then it's another second from AJ to Luke. And then these three are close, but then the deficit between Fidel and Dylan Thomas is like 3.5 seconds, and this is just a very widely spread session, I suppose. That's putting it generously, I would say. We're down to the final minute in qualifying, so this is when the laps really count. DIVEBOMB, I think, is going to be one of the first. I think you just saw Logan Cool getting a pit lane violation. He gets a grid penalty for that. He's already at the bottom of the timesheets, so that just makes things... that's just salt in the wound at that point. See, will DIVEBOMB expand the zone? Further stretch that time requirement. Jason Jester's not on the track, so he won't be able to compete with whatever this time is. Never mind, this is that was his out lap. This is his actual lap, and we'll report back when he's closer to its completion. Galvin a little bit hesitant out of the final turn. That was also his out lap. Jason Jester is on the racetrack. I don't know why he's on the racetrack, because he can't get out. He can't run a lap. Tim Galvin a little wide at turn 1. Jan Torres is not on the racetrack. So this is primarily a contest between Galvin and DIVEBOMB. He is up on his previous lap by just over a tenth. So we could be looking at the 52.1s here. If he keeps up this pace of improvement, he might be in the 51s, which is terrifying to think. Oh, very squirrely heading into the hairpin. You had to recover the vehicle on the way in, as he pushed his limits on the braking and probably a little bit past them. Time to guess where the braking zone is, because someone destroyed all of the markers. Couldn't quite hit the apex, probably because he didn't know where he was going to hit the brakes at. AJ Knickel improves massively to a 52.6, putting him third on the timesheets. Eyes look back to the provisional pole sitter, as he's only one of 3 cars currently on a lap, I think. Maybe 4. Through the last turn, nearly smacking those braking boards himself. And oh, too much pressure on the throttle, and that lap is toast. Speaking of toast, Tim Galvin's about to approach that same corner. Let's see if he can, well, keep the car straight. No, he's instead gonna cut too much of the corner right at the last minute, he's going to invalidate his lap. So that is the session. Yeah, because Matthew Stotts never was on a lap. That is some great lighting game. Really like that. I'm going to have to put a siege warning over this stream. And so there is an overview of your qualifying results. The degrees of separation between each driver, frankly, astoundingly wide. The slowest time and the fastest time are nearly 10 seconds apart. Let's look at a quick rundown of this race's starting grid while the drivers make their final preparations for strategy and the like. DIVEBOMB is your pole sitter, followed by Jason Jester, AJ Knickel, Tim Galvin, Jan Torres, Luke Allen, Carter Ritchie, Fidel Fabian, Billy Targi, Dylan Thomas, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, Matthew Stotts, who didn't even set a lap at all, but still will get to start ahead of Logan Cool due to the latter's pit lane violation during qualifying. If I only had to guess, he must have sped in the pits by a lot. Probably forgot to hit the pit limiter. Patiently wait for all the drivers to make their last second changes. Could also probably be seeing some setup adjustments since, well, you want to make these cars handle the way you want them to. These cars, they don't take any prisoners. So if the car thinks you're overstepping its limits a little bit, you're gonna know about it. There's no doubt. Everyone is set. Somewhere out there we have green lights lighting up. And we are green from the Dubai Autodrome. And people got a very mixed reaction off the start. Dylan got away well. Tim Galvin had an initial launch that was really good, but then couldn't take it too far as we head towards the first corner of this race. And it looks like Dylan will sweep ahead on the outside of Jason to remain in the lead. Most people seem to have more or less held station through the first handful of turns. We see AJ shooting the outside, or trying to hold the outside against Tim Galvin. You could just saw Stotts and Fidel make a bit of contact. Maybe not. It's hard to actually be totally sure if there was or not. Logan Cool, unironically, had a pretty decent start. He's up 3 spots from where he began already. Jason Jester would have the slipstream on DIVEBOMB, but it doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot at the moment. Everyone's pretty much single file as we look further down the order, except for Fidel and Stotts, who continue to battle for 7th place. Fidel had a peak, but he ultimately couldn't convert it into much of anything. As Jan Torres is a round out of the hairpin sort of thing. I can't look at him because the leaderboard keeps changing. So there's a heavy hitter who's had early misfortunes here at Dubai. Okay, everyone's just trying to everyone's just trying to settle in at the moment. I can only assume that's the reason nobody, obviously, risk-taking kind of at a minimum on the first lap if you have a brain in your head somewhere. So everybody heads into turn 1 in an orderly single file fashion. And Logan Cool defending from Dylan Thomas. This battle doesn't currently seem to be converting into much. Although Dylan did catch Logan a little bit asleep there on the exit of 2, but still cannot convert it into anything of note. Knickel's a bit wide on the hairpin. Galvin can smell the blood in the water. Oh no, he's the one bleeding. He is around in the same place his teammate went around the lap before. He's gonna have to wait for everybody to pass by lest he rejoin unsafely. He finds a gap, makes his way back around. This camera is not helping anything right now. With that, he finds himself not in complete last place. That's where his teammate resides at this current moment. And we have a battle on our hands. Logan and Tim make a bit of contact as Tim makes his way through ahead of the... I can't read that number, I'm blind. And we also have Dylan Thomas missing the exit of the sweeper, and that allows Tim to make up even more spots, so he's already quickly on his salvage campaign. We're 3 wide at the last turn, and I think they're still as such. Yes, they are, as they head down the front stretch, but Torres will be able to escape for the most part, and Logan will just have to retreat. I say this, he then sends it down the middle, and that is... If he makes that stick, that's not... no, the game's not going to like that track limits-wise. He's forced to return those positions. Almost a brilliant overtake, but he could not get the car to listen to him on the brake pedal. I don't like these rotating cameras. Now Matthew Stotts either is letting Fidel Fabian go by, or he just had the worst exit out of that turn you could possibly get. I'm thinking it's probably the latter. Kaneko finds himself right on the back door of Jason Jester. As DIVEBOMB proceeds to pull away from the duo. AJ Kaneko a little bit feisty on track limits there. I don't know if that will have any adverse effects. Obviously AJ can't afford to be a little aggressive and try to take the second place away. He's got plenty of breathing room between himself and 4th place. As those are team orders right there, as Billy Targi allows Carter to overtake. However, that is also costing him position against the 11 car of Tim Galvin. That's a name I'm having to struggle to remember because he hasn't been in the league nearly as long as most of the rest of the grid has, and I'm not used to him. You almost had a battle there as I think Jurgensmeyer went for a send against Dylan Thomas, but found nothing. AJ Kaneko, I believe, might have a penalty of some description, based on that red thing next to his name. Tim Galvin has definitely caught Richie at a rate of... Well, yes, at a rate of yes. I don't know where I was going with that one. These cars, they don't really have much power in the slipstream. However, there is a lot of power in hitting the apexes, which Carter Ritchie has failed to do. And that's given Tim Galvin a major opportunity to attempt an overtake. And overtake he shall. You'd start to think that that incident with him never happened in the first place. He's making considerably better time than his teammate is, despite making the exact same mistake as his teammate did. Okay, I'm really not sure what it means when their position marker glows red. Does that mean they have a penalty or not? As into the pits goes Matthew Stotts. And of course the rule has always been after the end of lap 3, mandatory pit stops are in play. I can only presume that Matthew Stotts is trying to get his out of the way at the earliest opportunity and go for like the Omega Ultra undercut on everybody. It's an interesting idea, to be sure. Had to cough there. As here we see, I think Jan Torres had a pretty decent run on Tarji, and he's gonna go for the send into the hairpin. Oh, he does not get it stopped though. He's overestimated the ability of this vehicle to brake. It's not a GT3, it can't quite brake there and get away with it. Carter Ritchie is actually keeping up with Tim Galvin. Oh, I almost cursed him right there. For the most part, he did lose a lot of time in those two corners due to his oversteer, but for the most part, he is keeping him honest. Oh, Slipstream is playing a big role right here. But we have Tim Galvin, who's a little more brazen under the brakes. Manages to stave off the 2-car for the time being. But Carter is on the attack at the moment. There's no doubt in my mind on that fact. It's interesting to see the different ways that drivers attack these corners. I don't know if the game's gonna like that one. Might be getting hit with the slowdown for that one. I'm not sure. The way that these two drivers attack these corners very differently between one another. And now suddenly, a few weak apexes later, as I get a party invitation, and all of a sudden Jan Torres is on the back of Mr. Ritchie there for 7th position. And we can see there's another example. Torres stays low, and Carter Ritchie made the wide apex. He's clipped the curb, and he is around again. As now he's unfortunately committed to the pit lane. He can't cross back over that line. This race has been quite spread out up to this point. Not many battles, as we are in the early stages of this event. It's anyone's guess whether that'll change or if that's just going to be the story of the night here. I do see Fidel Fabian is making some inroads on Luke Allen for the 4th position. Besides that, it doesn't really seem like anybody's getting that close to each other. I've never brought this screen up before, what the heck? Oh, this tells me if drivers do have penalties, and yes, the ones with the red arrows on the side do in fact have time penalties. Huh. I've literally never brought that up before. This doesn't do anything. We might have something brewing in the near future as Tim Galvin is slowly catching 4th and 5th place. Obviously, based on his qualifying speed, we know that he's got plenty of pace in that car. So I figure it's just a matter of time before he's caught and probably, overtaken the pair of drivers ahead. But after he gets clear of Allen and Fabian, yeah, it's not his name. Once he gets clear of Luke Allen and Fidel Fabian, though, he has quite a long journey ahead of him to catch up to AJ Knickel. But I genuinely think that Tim Galvin is probably the car to watch at the moment, as he's the only one that's making up time on his opponents ahead. His lap split when he comes up in a moment on the left should be a clear indicator of that fact. He ran a 54 flat. He has absolutely tracked these two down like a bloodhound. He's not quite going to be close enough to send it into 1. Not if he's a sane man, anyway, he's not. I think what we're seeing here is Galvin is taking different, more unusual lines to trying to throw off Fidel Fabian based on his perception of where the headlights are. It's not quite working. But here's a wide arc late apex exit that's kind of been spoiled by the existence of Fidel on the exit. The slipstream is not going to be enough to get him ahead here. I mean, I'm thinking into 1, that is where Tim is going to get the job done. I'm fairly convinced of this fact. It might be sooner if Fidel doesn't hit a few more apexes. That said, I think he was trying to arc it in late, as Tim has been doing on a couple of corners already. As Fidel is making an attempt to make the pit lane, he is kind of botched that a tiny bit, I would say. I don't even know if he made the commitment line or not. That might not have been the most illegal pit entry I've ever seen. But that's for me and the other stewards to figure out, not for... That's not a problem for commentary, me, let's just say that much. A line/concept that I feel like I allude to at least once per ARC broadcast. Excuse me again, my throat is a little congested at the moment and I'm trying to clear it out, but I can't really commit to that because I'm, you know, trying to commentate a race here. It's an awkward exit for Luke Allen. Tim Galvin is kind of alongside, but this area just isn't conducive to that. But he hits him with the crossover. He's going to have to try the outside of the next hairpin. As Matthew Stotts disconnects from the race. To surprise probably not very many people. You didn't hear that from me, though. As Carter Ritchie is also out of the session. He left. As I look and suddenly I notice that Jason Jester has actually caught up to the leader of DIVEBOMB. So we have another place to place the camera. As Luke Allen makes the most conservative pit entrance known to mankind. So good timing too on Jason Jester's part to have caught up to the leader because the battle for 4th place has ended. AJ also pits. He will come out behind Tim Galvin a considerable amount. He may even exit behind Billy Targi, if I'm not mistaken. That he shall. Not much separation, but separation. This stream is not doing enough for Jason Jester at the moment. But DIVEBOMB, I think, just locked the brakes heading into the hairpin. We have a battle for the lead raging onwards towards the middle sector of the circuit. Oh, was there contact there? The camera panned away, I couldn't even tell. Also keeping my eye on the gap. Oh, there was definitely contact that time. Jester, I think, wanted to use the bump and run. Yeah, I can see the contact. I think DIVEBOMB just flashes lights to react to him. Something I do on GT7. I think Billy Targi made a mistake or let AJ go or something in the other. And what is happening? Because he just gained like a whole second on AJ down the back straightaway. I am confusion. Oh, I see. I think did Jason Jester give Dylan damage from that? It's got quite an implication if what I believe is true. I think Billy might have just let AJ go, just the classic "this isn't my battle" concept. You know, he's just kind of following AJ around the circuit. You can learn a lot about a track by following somebody else. I remember in a couple of league races where I have done that. I think it was like a NASCAR race. I followed Johnny Parker for like 10 laps, and I suddenly found myself going 3/10 faster per lap. So that was New Hampshire. This happened. I just let him go and followed him around through a handful of laps, and suddenly, oh, what do you know? We're both gaining on the person ahead of us because I'm learning how to take the correct line to the corner. Anyway, that is neither here nor is there. As Jason Jester has caught lapped traffic, he has caught, I believe that's Logan Cool. Yeah, the only white car here, me. He doesn't necessarily have to force the issue against the lap car. He's got a pretty decent buffer. However, I think he might want to pit in the near future, as otherwise the undercut will come back to haunt him. And I think you just heard me, as in goes the current race leader, Jason Jester, which will make things interesting, as you know, now it becomes the guessing game. Who will come out on top? Will it be DIVEBOMB, or will it be Jason Jester? It seems as though he may be repairing some damage that he may have taken from the, what seems to have in fact been contact with Dylan. As we get the pan-out view, it seems as though this is going to be a little close, I believe, but I think Jason Jester is going to lose the lead here. As there's the pan-out shot, and yes, DIVEBOMB returns to the race lead. And Jason Jester slots in brilliantly in between AJ and Dylan, so there is your top three running through the middle what? Huh? Brain? Anything in there? Head empty, no thoughts? Gee whiz. I like how the top three is 37, 47, 7. That's how quaint. And looks like Knickel's getting a little racy here. He's caught up right to the rear wing of Jason Jester again. It's been a consistent tug of war with the front three, as Jason Jester just absolutely assassinates the braking board there. That's the one that people are using, no less. So. Not amazing. You're not really supposed to do that. The leaders are making a bit of a reverse concertina effect here. They're all getting closer together. I think Dylan has taken his foot off the gas, no, metaphorically speaking, not proverbially. As Billy Targi pits in, I believe he is the last driver to do so, leaving Tim Galvin all on this lonesome out here in P4. 18 seconds removed from the top competitors in the race. Billy's going to come out behind most of the people in the midfield. As the three leaders remain close together, about 7/10 apart each at the moment, so they're pretty much equally spaced apart, excuse me. So, here's hoping that the last handful of laps we're setting up for that to be a very climactic battle for the win. And hopefully we don't just have the ARC NASCAR thing of just sit here and ride until the last lap when the pass matters. I will bring back hashtag save the commentator. I say threatening bringing back a hashtag despite not using Twitter at all. but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, Jen Torres is getting close to Fidel Fabian up there on the leaderboard, but he's not close enough to really justify looking away from the three leaders who are, you know, nose to tail to nose. So keep an eye on the funny yellow numbers, though, because, well, I'm thinking Torres is getting closer over time. He just ran a lap time that's considerably... His last lap was way faster than Fidel's. This lap, he is gaining a lot. He gained half a second on Fidel there. And he gained a lot even down that straightaway alone. Speaking of gaining, Jason Jester is within half a second of the leader. Slipstream, though, is not doing quite enough. Oh dear Jesus. Well, that'll certainly help to close the distance if you just miss your braking point and drive straight into the back of Dylan Baum. He's going to try and convert this into an overtake. And he does. Dylan gives a bit of a headlight flash of disapproval of this. AJ Nickel, I think, also made a slight amount of contact. Dylan continues to angrily flash his high beams. We're gonna have some tempers potentially post-race. That's a problem for moderator record, not for commentary record. Also, these two are getting close together, but I'm hard pressed to look away from this lead battle. As I think that's Jason Jester trying to let Dylan back by. Which, you know, obviously I can't imagine he attempted to bump and run him, not like that. So if AJ Knickel sees the opportunity, he does not. He was certainly in striking distance there, but he thought better of the idea. Took a quick pause to look at this battle for P6. Not quite turning into much yet. That is a good run for Torres, but it's just not enough. Barely insufficient. Jester had a peek on the inside there. That's only going to hurt his exit, though, I think. AJ Knickel's basically just given second place on that. I'm not really sure what that effort was, but it clearly didn't get him too far. They are still too wide at the braking zone, pretty much door to door. Jester almost meets Dylan at the apex again. This time manages to get the car to stay and, you know, to slow down. And he will stay in second for the moment. AJ attempts to come back at him out of the following turn, but he cannot find a space to insert that Ford Falcon. Lap traffic might be present in the near future. I believe I just saw Dylan Thomas, who is actually fighting Logan Cool for P10 up there, so that's going to be interesting if the leaders catch them whilst that battle is going on. You get a bit of a lag twitch there from Jason. I don't know what that looked like for the drivers, but for me it looked a little odd. Yeah, those two are still battling up there. I suggest they settle it before the leaders catch them, or else this is going to get a little bit difficult. I think AJ has just missed turn 1. At first I was like, oh, he's taking a new line into turn 1 to try and gain the edge on Jason. No, he's taking a new line into turn 1 because he's missed turn 1. Continues to size up the 37 machine. What was that? Oh, Dylan Thomas already got out of the way. I was like, who's the fourth place car? No, Tim Galvin is quite a ways away from the lead pack. as Logan Cool does eventually get out of the way before it is too late. Lets the 3 leaders go. Finds himself also decently ahead of his opponent for P10, so... It seems as though Dylan may have overfueled his vehicle a little bit. As we head up to the line to take 5 laps remaining here in this Dubai event. I was about to say the Dubai Grand Prix. This is not Formula 1. At some point in the recent past, I think Jan Torres made a small mistake and he is no longer on the back of Fidel Fabian, so that's not even a battle to look at the moment, so it is just kind of a thing of put the camera in the middle of the battle and see what takes place. Chase cam for a moment. As I speak, the game gives me the close battle notification. That's what the yellow thing means. Little, like, that icon that keeps going away and coming back. That basically means that the driver is catching the car ahead. Which, absolutely adore that function. It's a lot more obvious because there have been times where I've missed battles in F1 because I have to look at the numbers, and only the numbers can tell me whether there's about to be a battle or not. But this game literally just is like, alert, there's a battle, and then I can look at that camera. However, I think it's like within a second and a half of the car ahead, and that doesn't necessarily mean there's a battle. There have definitely been times where that's come up for cars that are not battling. Even as we speak, the 3 leaders have such an icon on the screen for their battle, but said battle really isn't ongoing at the moment. They're both like just shy of a second each apart. As Jan Torres has caught back up to Fidel. But he is not yet close enough to attempt any sort of pass. Meanwhile, in the back straightaway, yeah, everyone's staying that kind of same 8.5 tenths apart at the moment, so you just have to let these 3 let the action ferment, as it were, before turning into fine wine. Or we just never drink it at all and the grapes go stale. You know, that's always an option. Doesn't seem like that's an option that Jackson wants to take. Jason. Whoops. Too many J's in this league, man. There's already 3 Jacksons. There have been as many as 5. Jason Jester. Press X to Jason. He is right back on the tail of DIVEBOMB. A good exit from the last turn here is all that he would need to have a shot at this position, but a good exit is not what he got. So I do not think we'll have anything doing here. As we just watched the tail end of Fidel Fabian's defense finally giving through, and Jan Torres mercifully makes his way into P6. Jester had a not the greatest exit from the hairpin there. AJ almost just ran to the back of him. Game, these two are not in the battle. I don't know what you're on. As we head up to 2 laps to go, AJ Kinnickle just about runs Jason over through the last turn. Most of the battles on track have more or less been resolved, but the most important one, for the lead, we don't know who's going to win that one yet. Dylan has sort of controlled the race up to this point, but all it takes is reaching the white flag to galvanize some drivers, and they'll go for the desperation move into the hairpin and hope for the best. And I guess we'll just have to see if Jester is one of those drivers. No. Jason got a little bit testy on the brakes there. He about ran right into the back of Dylan again. He managed to keep it off him though. But he's once again lost considerable time to a Kinnickle behind who's looking... He's looking for Jason to do that again, or worse. Or have a bad exit out of that hairpin, which is just giving AJ the ticket he needs. As we begin the final circuit here around Dubai, Dylan has, I don't want to say it's a comfortable margin, but it's a workable one at the very least. Ultimately speaking, with the way that this race has trended, all that he really has to do is maintain roughly this gap up to the backstretch hairpin, and it's his race to lose. But he's actually lost that gap, as Jason Jester has had quite a Sector 1. He's right to the back of the 37. So, we'll just have to see what that long banked corner has in store. That's going to basically determine this race, more or less. Dylan takes it incredibly well. It's left Jason in the dust. It's actually left Jason potentially vulnerable to Kinnickle back here. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I don't think so, though. Oh, no. Jason sends it and turns Dylan... Oh, my word. It's a repeat of a few laps ago, but instead through goes Kinnickle. Through no real overtaking skill of his own, has just been gifted the lead with less than 10 corners to go. Another, just a klutzy move from Jason Jester, who seems so incredibly testy with his luck after Daytona with the lap traffic. Now doing a little bit of a sabotage of his own. And so it's going to be the driver who's only led one lap, the most important one, AJ Kinnickle, through the last turn, is going to take the victory here at Dubai. And I think we're going to see some punches thrown after that one. Tim Galvin will recover to 4th place following his lap 2 or so spin, I think. A distant 5th place comes for Luke Allen. Fidel Fabian never quite lost the back of Jan Torres, but never quite made any inroads on him either. Here comes Luke Allen for a quiet but consistent 5th place. Jan Torres almost let his foot off the gas. Fidel Fabian almost stole that position from him at the last second. But it will be Jan Torres with P6. Fabian P7. Billy Targi a distant P8. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer a distant P9. Dylan Thomas got 10th. He gets the last point, as we currently have Logan Cool and Dylan Baumann a stare down at the end of the race. Yeah, so this is basically the end of the race. Billy crosses for P8. So, you can basically begin the introduction here. Through the last turn comes Jonathan Jurgensmeyer to take 9th and to complete this week's ARC V8 Supercars event. So, same time next week, I guess, for the next round of the V8 Supercars competition. Apparently the game thinks that Dubai Autodrome is in Britain. It also seems to think that... What are the... AJ and Dylan are not British. I don't know what these flags are on about. Yeah, and that'll conclude matters here for the V8 Supercars race. Next broadcast will not be Supercars. It's going to be the well, it's going to be Formula 1. I believe next week is the Brazilian Grand Prix. So until then, goodbye.